Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to MetrObelisk Radio, and well, the title says it all, so let's just get right into this article from Variety. Original Blade star Stephen Dorff is sick of Marvel's worthless garbage, mocks MCU's Blade. Stephen Dorff is no stranger to railing against Marvel. The actor went viral in 2021 after telling The Independent that Black Widow looks like garbage, and he was embarrassed for its leading star Scarlett Johansson. Sorry, I kind of read a little head there. Now Dorff is back with a fresh Marvel tirade courtesy of the Daily Beast. The actor, who flexed his comic book movie chops opposite Wesley Snipes in 1998's Blade, said he'd only want to start in contemporary comic book movies if they quote unquote were more like when I started when we made Blade, or the few that have been decent over the years, like when Nolan did The Dark Knight and reinvented Batman from Tim Burton. Quote, all this other garbage is just embarrassing, you know what I mean? Dorff continued. I mean, God bless them, they're making a bunch of money, but their movies suck, and nobody's going to remember them. Nobody's remembering Black Adam at the end of the day. I didn't even see that movie. It looked so bad. And I will say this right off the bat. Stephen Dorff actually has a point with the whole idea of, you know, that the movies suck, because if we jump over to this article from Screen Rant, which was 2022 was the year superhero movies lost their box office dominance. I meant to do a video at the time, but ultimately decided not to. But here's a good paragraph from it right here. 2022's box office is an improvement on 2021, which will surely leave studios breathing a sigh of relief. But it's notable that although the year featured several major superhero films, including 3 MCU blockbusters, none of them broke $1 billion in the global box office. In 2018, Venom, a relatively lackluster superhero movie, made over $856 million worldwide. In 2022, only 2 of the year's 5 superhero films broke that unlikely benchmark: Doctor Strange in the Multiverse of Madness and Black Panther: Wakanda Forever. Black Adam, a film Dwayne Johnson hoped would serve as a relaunch for the entire DCEU, didn't even break $400 million worldwide. The fashions are clearly changing in popular culture. So yes, when you're talking about the fact that the Marvel movies suck, the audience now is starting to reflect that, and the idea of nobody's going to remember them, I agree with wholeheartedly. When have you ever heard someone in your personal life come up to you and say, you know what, I feel like watching Captain America: Civil War today, or Thor Ragnarok, or oh God, what's another one? Or Ant-Man. Sorry, I had to think for a second, right? When was the last time you ever heard someone in your personal life unironically say, I'm in the mood to watch Ant-Man, or what did I bring up? Thor Ragnarok, or Captain America: Civil War. Right, and what the MCU is actually reminding me of right now is the exact same cinematic universe that they based themselves off of, which was the Universal monster movies from the 1930s, 40s, and even going into the 50s. How many of you guys actually are even aware that there were 4 other Mummy movies that were made after the 1932 film with Boris Karloff? Now, you might remember the 1932 film with Boris Karloff, but have you ever heard of The Mummy's Hand? Or how about its sequels, The Mummy's Tomb, The Mummy's Ghost, and the Mummy's Curse? Right? I'm not including Abbott and Costello Meet the Mummy, because that's a completely different thing. But still, and I'll talk about myself in this. You know, I wasn't even aware that these movies even existed. The Mummy's Hand, The Mummy's Tomb, The Mummy's Ghost, and The Mummy's Curse until I saw an episode of James Rolfe's Monster Madness where they talked about, where it's like, wait a minute, they made more than one Mummy movie? Apparently there were 4 sequels. And even when Hammer, the Hammer Film Productions, made their Mummy movie starting in 1959 with Christopher Lee and Peter Cushing, which is a great remake, by the way. There were 3 sequels to that nobody talks about: The Curse of the Mummy's Tomb, The Mummy's Shroud, and Blood from the Mummy's Tomb. Again, I've personally never heard of it, but you know what? I'll go back and I'll rewatch The Mummy from 1959 with Christopher Lee and Peter Cushing. These other sequels, maybe not. So who's to say, 10, 15, 20 years from now, movies like Ant-Man and Captain America Civil War and what was the other one? Thor Ragnarok, right? Who's to say that those movies just get lost to time like the various Mummy sequels were? In my opinion, with regard to the MCU, I think most of Phase 1 is going to be rediscovered, and especially that first Thor movie. That first Thor movie is really, really good. But I think every Thor sequel, Thor: The Dark World, Thor Ragnarok, and Thor: Love and Thunder, are going to be completely just ignored from the conversation from that point on. The first Avengers movie might still be talked about. The Guardians of the Galaxy movies might still be talked about. But other than like those handful of movies, how many people are going to truthfully be nostalgic for the MCU movies in general? Right? Like I said, like I said, I'll bring it back to what I said a few minutes ago. When was the last time you unironically heard someone in your personal life say, "I feel like watching Ant-Man today. I feel like watching Captain America Civil War today. I feel like watching Thor Ragnarok today"? Personally, I've never heard anybody in my personal life ever say that. It could be different, and it could be different for you. I don't know. I'm just basing it on me, which is something you should never really do as an analyst. But still, honestly ask yourself that question. I know I've tangented off for too long, so let's just get back to the article from Variety right here. According to Dorff, the future of cinema rests in upcoming new talents like director Eddie Alcazar, who helmed the Sundance entry Divinity, which stars Dorff, and not in quote-unquote making Black Adam and worthless garbage over and over again. Now, I think with this paragraph, that's a little self-indulgent, a little bit here. That's the marketing spin to his rant right here. While Stephen Dorff has some good points about Marvel movies, the fact that you have to have this marketing spin, Marvel movies are garbage. That's why you should watch my upcoming indie film that was only made for $500,000, however much it was made for, because that's where real cinema lies. Okay, back to my Marvel rant. For most people, when they look at that, it's very easy to completely discredit anything in this Marvel rant, no matter how legitimate it is. How many people are going to write this off as, this is just nothing but marketing spin. He just wants to generate headlines for his $500,000 indie movie. How much was Divinity made for? I'm going to look this up real quick. I know you guys can't see my screen, but I'm looking it up on IMDb. I'm going to see if there was a production budget posted. Details. Does not look like it. There's not a reported production budget yet. Okay. Anyway, back to the Variety article here. Here we go. Marvel is currently developing a new take on Blade for its Marvel Cinematic Universe, but not all has gone according to plan. Mahershala Ali is attached to the role, but original director Bassam Tariq exited the film 2 months before the intended production start date. Jan Demange is currently set to direct the MCU's Blade movie. Dorff said there's no chance the MCU bests the 1990... Okay, they got the year wrong. They said the 1999 original, it's 1998, but still, okay. Dorff said there's no chance the MCU bests the 1999 original, which was directed by Steve Norrington. Quote, "Marvel is used to me trashing them anyway," Dorff said. "How's that PG Blade movie going to work for you? That can't get a director, because anybody who goes there is going to be laughed at by everyone because we already did it and made it the best. There's no Steve Norrington out there." Earlier in the interview, Dorff said he'd quote-unquote do mainstream movies all the time if they were good. The actor added, quote, "If the 1 or 2 a year that happen don't, for whatever reason, cast me in a role, I'm not going to lose sleep over it because I wasn't one of the 50 people in Oppenheimer. I mean, it looks cool, but to me, unless you're playing Oppenheimer, I don't want to be in that movie. Unless it's my friend's movie, and then I'll do a scene or pop up." But okay, that's the end of the article. But let's circle back. Let's circle back to the paragraph prior, right? Marvel is used to me trashing them anyway. How's that PG Blade movie going to work for you? That can't get a director, because anyone who goes there is going to be laughed at by everyone because we already did it and made it the best. There's no Steve Norrington there, and this was always going to be the problem with the MCU's Blade movie, right? Their problem is twofold. Okay, problem number one, if you do not make it R-rated, the vast majority of people are simply just not going to waste their time with the movie, right? You know, if you're going to come out and you're going to make a PG-13 Blade movie, you may as well set the trailer to the song "Walking on Sunshine" by who did it? I'm blanking, and I'm gonna feel really stupid. I'm gonna look this up instead of pausing it. "Walking on Sunshine." I know it's is it Casey and the Sunshine Band? Bum, 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 bum. And of course, no, Katrina and the Waves, not Casey and the Sunshine Band. No, yeah, "Walking on Sunshine" by Katrina and the Waves. But okay, but my point still stands, right? If you make a PG-13 Blade movie, you might as well set the trailer to the song "Walking on Sunshine," because it's going to have the exact same effect, right? Let's say the trailer comes out and they do the really spooky music, get you all freaked out, you know, Blade is coming back, yippee! Marvel Studios' Blade, rated PG-13, coming to theaters near you. All of a sudden, you're going to go from like really super hyped, super excited to oh, really? They're making a PG-13 vampire movie? And then that song "Walking on Sunshine" is going to stick in your head, right? And the second, I did say that Marvel Studios' problem with Blade was twofold, right? The first part was, you know, no R rating. I'm not going to waste my time. The second point I want to bring up is the fact that Wesley Snipes is Blade, right? Wesley Snipes is so synonymous with the role that anybody else taking over is gonna really feel like a foreign idea to the vast majority of people, right? People forget that, you know, Blade, before the 1998 movie was even made, was a no-list character, and all of the martial arts shit that was in those three Blade movies was all Wesley Snipes. That is what Wesley Snipes brought to Blade. And let's be honest. Would Marvel Studios even be making a Blade movie had it not been for the success of that original movie with Wesley Snipes? Everyone says that the first Blade movie was really great. Blade 2 is also a good movie, not nearly as good as the first movie, but it's still pretty good, and nobody talks about Blade Trinity, despite the fact that, you know, Ryan Reynolds is in it, but Triple H was woefully miscast as Dracula. Oh, wait, sorry, Drake, because we can't call him Dracula because it's set in 2004, but still, would Marvel Studios even be redoing Blade had it not been for the success of that 1998 movie, along with its 2002 sequel? And that's why I say Stephen Dorff is absolutely right about calling Marvel movies worthless garbage. Right, to tie this back to the beginning, and I'll end the video off with this. And where was it that and where was it? Here it is. All this other garbage is just embarrassing. You know what I mean? I mean, God bless them. They're making a bunch of money, but their movies suck, and nobody's going to remember them. This is why I agree with his sentiment. Is this one sentence right here? Nobody's going to remember them. I said this earlier. I'll say it again. Who's to say, 15, 20 years from now, movies like Ant-Man and Captain America Civil War and Thor Ragnarok don't just, fade back into the ether as if they never existed. Sure, they're popular right now, but something that's popular today is not guaranteed to remain popular forever. Does anyone remember the Charlie Chan movies? There were 44. There were some like 42 or 44 of them made from the early 1920s all the way up to like 1983. Yet nobody talks about Charlie Chan anymore. Now, do they? Again, point still stands. Just because something is popular today does not mean that it's going to remain popular you know, 15, 20 years from now. Just because something is critically acclaimed today does not mean that it won't be bashed tomorrow. And guys, I'm going to go ahead and end this video right here before I drag this out way longer than I probably need to. Hell, we've probably dragged this on way longer than we probably should have at, you know, over 15 minutes. So, guys, if you stuck around this long, thanks so much for doing so. And if you've been following me long enough, you know I'm terrible at ending these videos, so I will just see you guys next time.